Welcome to the next step in our Introduction to HTTP course, where we'll dive deeper into the GET request method. In our previous unit, we laid the foundation by covering the basics of HTTP, the essential language for web communication. Now we're going to build on that knowledge and see how these principles come to life in real-world scenarios. The GET request method is fundamental for retrieving data from servers, allowing our applications to fetch information efficiently. As we explore this method together, we'll use practical examples that highlight its role in various web interactions. Ready to see it in action? Let's get started. In this section, we're revisiting the GET request method, a fundamental part of interacting with web servers. Imagine it as a way to politely ask a server for information. When you use a web browser to visit a website, your browser sends a GET request to the server to fetch the page data you want to see. This method is focused solely on retrieving data without making any changes to it, which distinguishes it from other request types that might modify data. So when thinking about GET, remember, it's all about requesting data from a server in a safe, non-intrusive way. Now let's put your understanding to the test with a quick question. In this recap, we're focusing on the GET request method, which is an essential part of working with APIs. At its core, a GET request is used to retrieve data from a server. It's like sending a request for information, and the server responds with the data you need. Imagine you're looking at a web page and you want the latest updates. You'd use a GET request to ask the server for that data. This method doesn't change or update any information on the server. It merely requests what's already there. Previously, we discussed how GET was applied in real-world scenarios. For instance, you can use it to gather event data from Google Forms and seamlessly export it to platforms like Airtable or Slack. This makes it a powerful tool in data integration and management. Understanding how GT operates helps you harness the full potential of data interactions and ensures smooth data handling across various applications. In this scenario, we're exploring how to use the GET request method on a website. The GET method allows us to retrieve data from a specified URL. Here we'll use make to create a scenario that tests this process. First, you'll need to create a new scenario and name it GET_TEST. Once you have it set up, search for the HTTP app and select the Make a Request module. This will allow us to send our GET request to a website. For this example, you'll use the URL https://www.google.com. Type this into the URL field, then for the method, choose GET. By doing this, you're instructing the module to request data from Google's homepage. Once you've entered this information, click OK to save your module settings. Make sure to save your entire scenario, then select Run Once to send the GET request. This process allows you to see how a GET request operates, though it's worth noting that the data retrieved this way might not always be usable within Make. This exercise helps deepen your understanding of how data is retrieved via GET requests. When you send a GET request to a website, it's like asking the server for some information. The server responds, and the status code is your clue about how the request went. A status code of 200 is what you want to see. It means everything went smoothly and the server successfully returned the data, just like when you click on a link in your browser. Every time you make a request, whether it's through a tool like Make or directly in a browser, you'll get a status code. This code tells you if your request was successful, encountered a problem, or something else. Understanding these codes helps you get a clear picture of what happens behind the scenes when accessing websites. So think of it as the server's way of saying, got it, here's your data. In this scenario, we're exploring the fundamental operation of a GET request on a website. When you run this type of request, you're essentially simulating what happens when you enter a URL in your browser's address bar. This action retrieves data directly from a website, but there's a catch. While your browser translates HTML code into a visually appealing web page, the tool we're using, Make, displays this data as raw code. Let's break down the components you see. The retrieved data is represented as a long string. This format essentially means it's all bundled together as a single line of text, rather than being organized into a collection or an array. While this gives you access to the raw information from the site, it's not the easiest format for data manipulation or use in your workflows within Make. Understanding this limitation helps clarify why data retrieved with a GET request might not be immediately usable, especially if you're expecting structured data like arrays or collections. This distinction also illustrates a key difference between merely accessing website data and obtaining data structured for seamless use in applications like APIs. In this scenario, we're exploring how to use the GET method to retrieve data from websites and APIs. When you perform a GET request on a website, the information returned is typically in the form of a long string, which isn't always practical for data manipulation in Make. This is essentially the HTML structure of the web page, which can be quite complex. On the other hand, when you use a GET request with an API, the response is formatted as a structured collection or array. This format is much more useful because it organizes data into key value pairs, making it straightforward to process and integrate into your Make scenarios. The key takeaway here is understanding the difference in data presentation between websites and APIs. Websites offer raw, unstructured data, while APIs provide organized, structured data that's ready for immediate use. This enables you to efficiently incorporate the data into workflows and automate tasks more effectively in Make. In this scenario, we're diving into how to effectively use the GET method to retrieve data collections or arrays. The GET method allows you to send an HTTP request to a specified URL, and you'll be engaging with different types of authorization methods that ensure secure data handling. First, making a basic request involves sending an HTTP request to your desired URL, capturing and processing the response. You might encounter situations where additional security is required, such as when dealing with sensitive data. This is where basic authorization comes in handy. By sending a request with your credentials encoded, you add a layer of protection to your transactions. When interacting with more secure platforms, OAuth 2.0 is your go-to for authorization. It provides a secure token-based authentication method, allowing your application to access the server without exposing your credentials. Meanwhile, client certificate authorization offers an advanced level of security by requiring a client certificate for identity verification. Today's activity will have you practicing these techniques using data you've seen in earlier courses. Your goal is to integrate this data using the GET method, exploring how different ways of authorization change the process. This exercise will not only solidify your understanding of HTTP requests, but also prepare you to handle information securely and efficiently in your Make scenarios. Let's dive into how to use the HTTP GET method to import data into your Make scenarios. Start by copying the provided URL and pasting it into the appropriate field. It's crucial to set the method to GET, as this action will retrieve the data you need. But retrieving data is just the first step. Once you've sent the request, click on Parse Response. This is essential because it transforms the raw data into a structured format, a collection or array that you can easily work with. Finally, save your scenario by clicking OK. This process ensures that you have the data ready for further use or analysis in your workflow. In this scenario, we're diving into how to use the HTTP GET method to import and work with data within your projects. You'll notice that when you expand the data field, it identifies the information type as a collection. This is a crucial distinction because it indicates that the data is structured in JSON format, allowing for a much cleaner and organized representation compared to a long string of HTML. When you run the get method here, it imports, parses, and displays the collection named shopping_basket. This collection contains an array of items, each representing different aspects of the basket, such as order IDs and total prices. By effectively leveraging this method, you harness the full potential of structured data, making it easier to map and utilize within your platforms. As you work through each stage, pay careful attention to how these collections enhance your scenarios, ensuring that your data is both accessible and actionable. In this scenario, we're focusing on using the HTTP GET request to bring in data that becomes pivotal for your automation tasks within Make. When you retrieve data via GET, it accesses external resources and pulls in structured information in the form of an array. This array, which consists of multiple items, can be leveraged creatively to meet your specific needs. Think of each item as a piece of a larger puzzle. Once imported, they are ready to be mapped and utilized, just like any other data received through app APIs. The key difference in this approach is the method of retrieval. By using HTTP GET, these items become adaptable components within your workflow, providing you with flexibility and functionality to enhance your processes efficiently. In our previous discussions, we explored how the HTTP GET method can be used within the Make platform. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on the key functionalities we've covered. Through various scenarios, we've seen how GET requests enable you to import data from online sources, whether it's retrieving simple HTML or more complex data arrays. This serves as a foundation for automating tasks by integrating web data directly into your workflows. In particular, Scenario 1 demonstrated how a GET request can be used to fetch data from a website, showcasing its versatility with any online resource. Meanwhile, Scenario 2 illustrated how to pull in data as an array, which you can manipulate and utilize in creative ways within Make. Think of these scenarios as powerful tools in your automation toolkit, offering flexibility and creativity in managing data flows. Each method opens up new possibilities for designing efficient and dynamic processes. In this scenario, we're exploring how the GET request interacts with web resources. When you make a GET request to a website, it fetches the raw HTML code. Think of it as taking a snapshot of the site's structure and content. While this snippet may not seem useful on its own, it highlights the broad applicability of GET requests on the web. For instance, you can use this method to pull in images from a website. Once retrieved, these images can be seamlessly integrated into communications, such as embedding them in a message. This showcases one of the versatile ways that GET requests can enhance data handling in various applications. In Scenario 2, we delve deeper into the possibilities of using the HTTP GET request in a practical way. Here you retrieve a set of data from a specified link. This could be any application you're interested in, especially those not currently integrated in Make but equipped with API capabilities. The flexibility here is substantial. By selecting the Parse Data option, you format this incoming data, making it usable within Make. This process allows you to arrange your data into a collection, which is essentially an array, a useful structure for handling multiple data points efficiently. Connecting to APIs can involve several additional steps beyond just retrieving data. These might include setting up security measures to ensure your integration is safe and compliant. While these steps can initially seem daunting, understanding them is crucial for successful API connections. Remember, this scenario is about showcasing the potential of what you can achieve with the HTTP app. As you explore these functionalities, consider how they can be tailored to fit your unique needs. Congratulations on completing the unit on the GET request method. By now, you should have a solid understanding of how this request works to retrieve data from various sources. We've explored key differences in using GT requests for websites versus pure data retrieval. When you query a website, GET requests often involve fetching HTML content that a server renders, while with data applications, it might involve JSON or XML formats that are machine readable. Remember, GET is stateless and retrieves existing data without altering it on the server. Looking ahead, our journey continues with a deeper dive into another powerful tool in web communications, the POST request method. This method will enable us to send data to a server, allowing for dynamic interactions and data creation. Stay curious and ready to explore.